What is going on, everyone? How we doing on this beautiful Tuesday night? Here we got TPR OCE MX1. Just got a little bit of qualifying going on behind us. Figured we'd jump in the booth, hang out with you guys for a little while. I already see MXBAEO at my streaming offer. What is your streaming offer? Oh, Pro-Am's 2025 for the, like, on Fridays or for, like, Supercross and stuff? If you don't want to talk about it on here, if you want to just PM me. We'll do, man. Yeah, most definitely. Would definitely be interested in that. Like I said, trying to work with bigger series and obviously keep getting my name out there, so I will definitely take you up on that offer. I just got to make sure my schedule's good. Yeah, no, I think for Supercross, I'm gonna probably be trying to run 250 EU. So Supercross shouldn't be an issue, but when we get to like GPs and motocross, it might, but I'm really never fast enough to make it anyways, so I said, man, I'll definitely hit you up kind of off the main stream here and definitely talk about it. Looks like it's going to be a pretty quiet night once again. Only about 8 riders in qualifying. I'm not seeing moto either. It's going to be interesting. It's going to allow Polar to kind of run away with the thing even more. I know Jinja, guy that hangs out in the chat with us, he's riding that 252 smoker tonight. And keep him at the top of the screen. I know my booth is in the way right now. This track's a fun one. It's very technical. Got that red dirt. Not very high speed. Take a lap with Prada. Let's see, where is he? There's Polar. Oh, must be Aiden's in here. There's K James. There's Prada. I don't know, 141 right now. To the side of the track, up and over that Rev graphics. Ooh. And goes down hard. I know my booth is in the way right now, so I'm trying to keep the keep the rider at the top of the screen so you guys can still see it. Prada. Now 2 laps in a row, 3 palms. He's not doing so hot. Now that the camera's going on him. Three palms. I'm trying here. I'm trying to get him on screen, but and pretty much this qualifying is just going for gate position. I mean, not really meaning too much. Prada with another mistake there. If this is any kind of insight to the race, Prada right now 2 seconds. That's the fast up 2 seconds. The rest of the crew. Hey, Frenchie, with the Prime subscription. Thank you, brother. That's huge. Big shout out to you, man. Really appreciate that. Those hanging out in here, basically every donation or any subs or things of that nature that I receive is really just going to get wrapped right back into the whole kind of broadcasting thing, whether that's new equipment, things of that nature, just to provide even better just streams for everyone. Additionally to that, would love to get into some giveaways and things of that nature. So obviously that needs some sort of funding. So once we hit a certain point, that'll probably be the case. But no, big shout out to you, Frenchie. Thank you, brother. About 10 minutes left here in qualifying. Again, only about 9 riders. Pesa, Eggman, a couple TPR guys in here. Polar, K James. We got, like I said, Prada, MXB Aiden on. I believe he was running for the Sure Visuals. Good seeing him in here. Smitty, Jinja. That's another guy that hangs out in the chat with us. Prada here, still sitting number 1. Polar closing that in by another probably half a second. Prada trying to put a fast lap here, makes a little mistake there. Kind of interesting looking at this track from the top down. It doesn't look like there's like, the faces look very small and nothing looks very steep, but actually almost every face on this track is a very abrupt, steep face. Yep, looks like Polar's gonna abort on that lap, just cut straight across. There's the man Polar on that TPR Dirt Lab ES KTM. If I'm not mistaken, I do believe Polar, he might be our points leader. I don't know if Moto was able to take it back last week. I have to take a look here. Let me zoom back out, see if we can put the track behind us and Find a cool jump or something to sit on just for the time being. Go to these two. There we go. Go jump over here, pull up championship results as we sit right now. So as we're sitting right now in the points, Polar actually still sitting in that number 1 spot with 224 points, followed by Moto, his teammate, with 200 exactly. Guy's very consistent. Moto actually missed round 4 that allowed Polar to take that overall, going 1-1. If you guys weren't hanging out with us, he swept house that day. So Polar currently sitting in first in points here. I said he is out here for some qualifying. Not sure if we are going to see the man Moto tonight or not. Third place right now is sitting Joman on the Normsco. Once again, not seeing him in here. Not quite sure where he's at tonight. G-Rob sitting in 4th. Again, another rider not seeing in here. Chol with the Normsco sitting in 5th. Guy that we do see in here, K. James. He is currently sitting in 6th place. Pesa in 7th. Saw his name in there. He's missed the last few rounds, but we know he is a very fast rider. SBAP in 8th. What up, Carter? How we doing? Hope you're having a great Tuesday night. Come to hang out, just watch some MX bikes, watch some of this OCE series. You guys did put down a qualifying lap and you're happy with it. Like I said, pretty much everybody's getting through. I don't think there's going to be really anything. Jump right before the finish line. The camera is sitting on, so if you want to try and get as steezy as you can, head on over to that part and see how far you can throw it out. Just expanded it there so you can see the whole jump. Yeah. Hopefully with Prada, Polar, Pesa, MXB Aiden, hopefully we're going to have some good racing tonight. A couple names in here that we've been missing for the past few weeks and a couple new names. So really interested to see how tonight's going to shape up. Track's also a very technical track, so it's definitely going to breed some good racing. Oh, come on. That's no motocross rider right there. I think the track's dope. It slows the game down a little bit. It gets a little more technical, almost a little more supercross style. Jinja throwing it backwards off that. That's what we like to see. See Peso. Peso looks like he is still going for fastest lap here. Still about 8 seconds off Prada there. Hear that two-stroke whining as he goes past. Sam up and over the table. Jinja again there. Just noticed, is my screen kind of cut off? Apologies. Didn't much help. There we go. That should be a little better. K James on that TPR. Polar coming right at the camera here. Jinja throwing it out, taking a look over his shoulder too. Well, Carter, even though you're not racing tonight, still love having you hanging out with us. I said I always love a busy chat. It gives me something to talk about and people to talk to. I believe it's probably just going to be me in the booth tonight, so. Additionally to that, guys that are hanging out, I know it's a smaller series, so if you guys have people that you want to pay attention to, if you guys want to focus in on someone, definitely just let me know. And appreciate that, Carter. Like I said, trying to build this into a kind of a platform that is pretty much non-bias. And that, like I said, we're going to try and focus in on any rider and hopefully just continue to grow and try and be the best broadcast booth we possibly can. But kind of as talking about that, looks like riders are coming through on their last laps here in qualifying. I do believe Prada is going to be our fastest qualifier tonight with a 141.294. Absolutely flying out here. Polar, another guy we know, has some incredible speed. About 0.2 seconds off, or 0.2 of a second off. So running about a 141.5 there. MXB Aiden only about 2 seconds off of them. Jinja 7 seconds off. Pesa about 8.5. Smitty about 9. K James about 11. Sam 14, and Eggman about 16 seconds off. So yeah, definitely excited to see a couple of these guys as we get into the main event. Like I said, still looking to see if Moto or anybody else is going to be joining in. I don't think I saw him on the list. I think I saw Chase's name in there, so we may even see a kind of a late entry from either Thunder or maybe Chase or someone of that nature. Would love to see some new names into this series. I said the TPR crew runs a great show. These tracks are a blast. I mean, in my opinion, these are some of the best tracks. They got some rough. They got a little bit of E-road, or kind of all predefined E-road. I like these tracks a lot. But just kind of taking a look through the list here real quick. One thing I always like to note out here, this series always brings out some different places across the world, I will say. No, Carter, I don't know what it blanked you out on there, but any of the blank guys racing. Oh, any of the Norms guys. Um, I don't think so. Uh, honestly, I think getting beat by Moto and Polar so bad, they kind of bailed. I know. I don't think this is gonna be Moto 1. Most people have left. A lot of the TPR guys are not in here. Let's see a little test start here. Watch these guys come down that straightaway. Polar, Smitty, Sam, and K James still hanging out here. Yeah, Polar is definitely going to be one to watch out for tonight. They're not racing Jinja. Yeah, as you can see, that Polar just retired. Most everybody had backed out. It was kind of just a test start. I'm gonna be backing out of here. Yeah, Jinja, I was making comments. Love to see the 252 stroker out there. His pace his first race in 3 weeks. He looked pretty good. He was a few seconds off the pace of the top guys, but I say, Gingy, you got some fans in here. You're riding that 252 stroke. You're gonna have to show out here. I would say a podium is definitely doable. Download it. It's your third lap. Hey, honestly, like I said, these tracks are a blast, and I think they're tracks that you can just pick up the controller and just start playing and really have the track down in just, I would say, a few laps. They're not crazy long. They're not super tough. What's going on, Polar? Good to see you in the chat, man. I said looking good in that qualifying. I was kind of figuring that. Really, you think a 450 on this track is the way to go? Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Three Palms hit it on the head. I didn't think a 450 was going to be that much bigger of a deal on this track. Like I said, I was spinning a few laps earlier, and I don't think I would want a 450. I'm a 250 guy. Take it on back to the booth here while we hang out for just a little bit. Yeah, honestly, we should Polar, you should mix it up one of these rounds, especially if you're not battling with Moto. Hop on a 252 stroke, see what you can put down. I'd be interested. I know we don't have many signups for this class if we did a two-stroke night. It's up to you. If you feel confident. I mean, I'm not trying to persuade you out of anything or I don't want to be the cause of not a first place. Yeah, pace it basically just highlights your message, catches my eye more. They said guys that have been hanging out, they'll start collecting those channel points. I'm still slowly building on that. Um, I can't remember how much the redemption is, but one of them is basically watch a rider of your choice for an entire lap. Called Who We Watching. I think that one's the 2K. Basically, what that means is if you redeem that 2,000 for about depending on what we're racing is, we'll about watch them for a lap or so, being kind of just the main highlight. Even if there's battles going on, if you redeem points, then that's who we're hanging out with. What is going on, Matt? How we doing, brother? Here in spirit. Hey, man, I always appreciate you hopping in, just adding to the viewer count. Oh, Pace, come on now. You ain't gonna rage quit. Well, Ginger, if you're up on the podium, then of course. If that's if that's what you're looking for, then let that be your motivation to, like you said, twist the grip there. Already angry and need to poo. Hey, yeah, that's probably not a great combo, honestly. Um, I mean, usually we don't even do qualifying. I don't. Toasty must have made an executive decision to run at least some sort of qualifying session tonight. Um, but I would imagine probably just a couple minutes here. Ah, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I say if anybody knows, it's probably those two guys about when we'll outside in the fresh air for once. Well, Pesa, you're out of Australia, right? How is the weather down there? Frenchie redeemed hydrate. Got my water next to me tonight. It is a Tuesday. Raining right now. Is it like, I mean, would you classify it as like spring, fall, summer, winter? I don't know how the weather dictates like that in the southern hemisphere and the really the opposite side of the world of me. You guys even have like winters or it's the one before summer. Okay. So it's like springtime. Got it. Makes sense. So it's you're basically complete opposite of us. So like right now we're finishing up, well, where I am, we're finishing up summer, heading towards the winter time. But does it get cold there though? I feel like, I mean, just from a an American standpoint, like does it actually get cold? Yeah, very cold. Well, yeah, I guess the desert. I say desert, like I'm talking here. This is about the most of my knowledge of Australia, but you've never been to a desert. I'm just pulling it up here real quick. So, oh yeah, you are not kidding how bipolar Melbourne weather is. Man, that is crazy. I thought like here in the states we had some weather that fluctuated a lot, but for anybody listening that doesn't know, I pulled it up here. It's about 60 degrees and raining in Melbourne. Um the next few days are like 63, 65, somewhere in there. And then all of a sudden Saturday hits 92 degrees and then it drops back down to 70 and then 65. Yeah, so quite dramatic swings. Although it does look like Toasty just posted in the MX1 race info. Looks like servers are going up here. Looks like we got about 14 people hanging out. What's going on, everyone? Love to have everybody in here with us. I said usually the TPR OCE MX1 class doesn't yield as big of a class, but always always have some great racing and always some good laughs and chats up in the chat. And right now we're learning from Pesa here about the Melbourne weather. Just want the warm weather to go jet skiing. Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. That makes sense. He said servers are up, but I'm not seeing them yet. Oh, there they are. If you are racing, make sure you guys get on in there. And I said Jinja, Pesa, MXB Aiden. If you are listening, make sure you hop on into the race server. Don't want to miss that. They do get moving pretty quickly. Yeah, it took mine a little bit to populate as well. I just had to refresh and then they showed up. We got about 16 people hanging out. What is going on, everyone? If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that follow button. We are doing streaming every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of MX Bikes racing. Anywhere from SIRL Supercross to the MXL kind of hybrid of the US AMA tracks and some GP tracks. And then additionally to that, we have the TPR OCE series. So all these tracks taking place out in Down Under, out there in Australia. Additionally to that too, if you get tired of those ads, you want to watch ad free. All it takes is a subscription. If you have like Amazon Prime, you do get a free subscription. So like I said, if you're hanging out with us, if you like watching the MX bike community and watching racing, then make sure that you hit that sub. Like I said, if you got that Prime, you get a free one. If not, I believe it's $5.99 per month. They're cheaper than any streaming service that you can get. And like I said, we're going to be bringing content to you about 4 to 5 nights a week. As we get into Supercross, things might start changing. Like I said, I got some big things in the plans here, and really, hopefully, we're going to be bringing even more content to you guys, even bigger races. So definitely make sure you guys are sticking with us, and like I said, hopefully at some point we're going to be doing some giveaways and things of that nature. So like I said, hang with us and kind of continue to grow. If you want to hang out, just kind of message in the chat. Always love being able to look over and chat it up with you guys. I try my best, especially as we're racing. It is just me in the booth tonight, but I know Matt is in there hanging out in the chat, watching from his phone, taking a little bit of a break tonight. So he can always help answer questions if he knows the answer to it. But as we are getting ready, we just watched qualifying wrap up. We're getting ready for Moto number 1. Guys just kind of loading in and sinking in. Pullers Puller said he's doing it for you. I don't know who he's talking to. I don't know if it's for me or for Pesa. Those guys are teammates. It's going to get interesting as we get into this racing. Jinja in here also on that 252 smoker, trying to make a name for himself, has definitely got some stiff competition. It's unfortunate that we have such a fluctuation of riders that are coming into this series. I wish we were able to get on more of a program and getting more people consistently running it. But like I said, as of right now, kind of how points are running, Polar right now being that point leader, only 24 points over his teammate Moto, who we have not seen tonight. Do not think he is racing here. Joman, G-Rob, Chol, all those guys, 3, 4, 5, not racing tonight. So definitely gives the ability for K. James Pesa, anybody else that can start to get their name in the hat may make a difference, move themselves up in this championship. TPR guys look like they're trying to keep it at home, keeping that title with the TPR team. I don't think there's really anybody close enough to spoil that unless something really, really crazy happened. Looks like we got about 7 riders into the lobby. So if you guys are signed up, make sure you guys are jumping into this main. If you are listening and interested in racing this as well, make sure you check out on the MyMXB. I said they race every Tuesday night. It looks like we might have everybody in here. Looks like Eggman is still sinking in. I can always tell the guys that live overseas is their ping is so much higher than some of the guys in the U.S. I'm guessing Jinja and MXB Aiden, both their pings are quite low. You guys are probably not too far from me then. Polar said, watch my wheelie. All right, let's go ahead and hop onto the track cam here. If we can go catch up to the man Polar. I think that's actually him back there. That looks like a Husqvarna 252 stroke. Polar's out here bunny hopping around. Okay, I'm gonna go set up over here. A wheelie towards me here. Yeah, right there. Oh, the stupid grass. Put the set like right up on the edge of the grass. See who else we can catch here. Pesa coming down there. Did decide to ride that 4-stroke. Oh, looks like practice is going to be complete. Horn going off there. Riders heading on down to the line. We're going to go get ourselves situated in turn 1 here. Kind of just taking a look. Looks like Eggman on that very inside. Polar and Pesa side by side. That is definitely going to be one to watch. They're both looking over at their teammate Eggman. There's MXB Aiden and Prada. The man Ginger on the other 2-stroke. Another one to be watching out for there. K. James just a little bit further down the line. And it does look like the 30-second board is up. The riders, 30-second board down. TPR OCE MX1, Moto number 1, getting ready to come at you here. Gate is down. Who is going to grab our hole shot as they come down towards this hairpin left-handed turn? MXB Aiden Prada blowing wide. Looks like it's going to be the man Jinja grabbing the early hole shot. Has the Polar on the TPR Dirt Labs Husqvarna right behind him. 252 strokes out to the lead. Looks like Prada trying to make quick work. Teammate K. James. Oh, and Jinja blows off the berm. So does Polar and Eggman. Eggman, Pesa, Jinja, and now Polar buried in the back. K James and MXB Aiden get tangled together. This is going to allow Prada to get out front early. Prada, we know, running absolutely flying lap times in qualifying. Going to try and start to run away here. These other riders cannot let him get too much steam, and otherwise he will be gone. Already about 4 seconds on the rest of this pack as he comes up and over that wall. That is a really tricky spot coming through these rollers. If you guys have not ridden this track, there's some pretty deep lines, some technical turns. You can see a little split section there. Additionally to that, some of these jump faces are very steep and can bite you, actually. There's a couple man-made holes on some of the faces to make you choose some different lines. But currently, as we see, Prada out front early, followed by MXB Aiden on that Surgeco AMXco KTM. We have Polar and Ginger still battling it out for that number 4 and 5 spot. Does look like Polar might have a little bit of cuts here. Nope, there they go. And here comes Pesa in that number 5 spot on that TPR Dirt Labs. Eggman, his teammate, following right behind him. And here comes K James off the side of the track as he comes into that blazed MX corner back down the start straight. We're still jumping back out to the lead here. Does look like MXB Aiden trying to close this gap in on Prada. Like I said, not a very high-speed track, some big steep faces, and some technical turns. Going to make it for some interesting racing. 20 minutes in this moto, 17 left. A little mistake can cost a lot here on this track. We're going to see MXB Aiden going wide there and Prada going to the inside. Interesting line choices. MXB Aiden still charging. Looks like the main line is going to be that inside. Taking a look back, there's the man Polar on the 252 stroke. That thing is absolutely rowdy as he is fighting to keep that bike just on the track. He is not looking slow on it. You can see Jinja in the back there. Polar just tucking the front just a little bit. Gets up quick. So does Jinja. I think the hardest part about these two strokes is just keeping that power on the ground. Pesa still running in that 5th position. Starting to see Jinja in his sights. Jinja with the Superman. Pesa trying to scrub those tables, keeping the bike low to the ground. Eggman on that Suzuki, still trying to keep these guys from getting too far away from him. As we take a look a little bit further, Polar still only about 9 seconds off the leader of Prada. MXB Aiden only 3.5 seconds. So Prada not pulling as big of a gap as I think he would like to see. Is MXB Aiden still in the same section as him? Definitely a little closer racing than what we have seen in the past few weeks. Looks like MXB Aiden going to choose to go wide there. Actually going to jump on off. Gets through that section very clean this lap. And tucks the front. A little bit of commenter's curse. But Prada also going to make a mistake. That is going to allow Polar to reel these guys in just a little bit. This section, as fun as it can be through all, as we watch Jinja come through here, and Bobble there too. That may be a very common thing we see tonight. As Pesa is actually going to get around Jinja for that number 4 spot. Let's jump back out to leaders as we see Prada just entering the track. A little mistake, not going to cost him too much. Looks like MXB Aiden still charging strong in that number 2 spot for that Surgeco KTM. And Polar looks like exploring some new lines as we are getting a little bit into this moto here. Trying to see what works, what doesn't. He is letting that 252 stroke sing, using the edge of the track, avoiding some of that roughness. Up and over that Prestige Genuine tabletop. All three of these riders really not too far off each other, about a 3.5 second difference. I'm sure there might be a cut or two here or there that is keeping them this close as well. Oh, and it does look like MXB Aiden was able to make the pass on Prada for the lead. Prada going back to the inside, bobbles, and actually MXB Aiden is going to get a little bit of a lead here. Prada struggling to get back on the track. Polar is going to make the pass on that TPR Dirt Labs Husqvarna. Polar starting to figure out that 252 stroke after riding the 4-stroke in qualifying. Is little by little getting faster and faster. We're going to have to see here what lap times look like in just a second. See if I am able to pull these up. See if I can't grab a nice overview shot of the next few corners. Trying to see if I can pull this up here real quick. As we are still watching MXB Aiden out front, about a 4.5 second lead now over Polar in second place. Prada, who was our leader, now falling back to that 3rd position. Pull up some live timing. I said trying to keep the race in frame here. We are still seeing Prada making a few little mistakes as MXB Aiden starting to gap these guys just a little bit, about 4.5 seconds now. MXB Aiden does have 1 second of cut. Polar was 0 and Prada was 0. Fastest lap has came from the man MXB Aiden, who is out front. Guy we have not seen in this series. Not much, or if at all, coming in to be a spoiler in this championship. As Prada once again back on the rear fender of Polar. A couple different lines here. We're seeing these guys inside and outsides. One of them hoping for a mistake from the other. Looks like MXB Aiden ran about a 142.28 in his last lap. We're going to see what he comes across the line with this time, as he is now 6.5 seconds now up and over the man Polar. Like, yeah, it was about a 144 from MXB Aiden that last lap. These top 3 absolutely flying, have left Pesa and the rest of the crew. Ooh, it looks like a little bobble from Polar there. Prada going to start to reel him back in a bit, but Prada makes another mistake, blows off the side of the track, has a clean re-entry. We were watching MXB Aiden come down this OCE whoop section. Like I said, these riders still able to see each other. This track not very long. Still seeing MXB Aiden choosing to go wide there. That is definitely an interesting one, as both Polar and Prada choosing to go to the inside. I don't know if MXB Aiden had something up his sleeve for that turn. You got Cedric hyping up Eggman. The only man out here on the Suzuki, and it does look like Polar still holding off Prada. They come up and over that Bishop Earth moving step up and back down our start straight. Polar and Prada absolutely pushing the limit, trying to keep up with each other, as we are still seeing MXB Aiden still running away with this about a 5.5 second lead. Diedrich also say Jinja different. Yeah, Jinja decided to hop on the KTM 252 stroke for this race. While we were getting motos up, so did Polar, decided to hop on that Husqvarna 252 stroke. Jinja had a great start. I believe actually was our whole shot winner, and then threw it away in just one of the turns, tucked the front, and has struggled to get back on pace here. Only about 7 seconds off of Pesa. I know Jinja was pushing to see if he could get onto the podium tonight. He has definitely got his work cut out for him come moto number 2. We still have about 8 minutes left, though, as we are starting to see Polar and Prada battling it out here, wheel to wheel, Dunlop to Dunlop. Seeing a couple different line choices from these two. It's that age-old battle between 2-stroke and 4-stroke. Looks like these guys have started to push each other as well. Starting to close that gap in just a little bit on MXB Aiden, who's on that Surgeco AMX Co KTM. Ooh, and Polar makes a mistake, goes down hard, is gonna allow Prada to get around him there. Well, that was an unfortunate mistake, losing a lot of time there. We were starting to see these guys close in on MXB Aiden. Hopefully hopefully Prada doesn't relax up. He's got to keep charging and not let MXB Aiden get too far away from him. As I say that, Prada makes a mistake, goes off the side of the track. It's going to allow Polar to close that gap in just a little bit closer now. About 6.5 minutes left here in moto number 1. Yeah, after those 2 mistakes, MXB Aiden. Oh, and MXB Aiden makes a mistake as well. I was just about to say he had now pulled about a 9-second lead, but this is going to cost him. Prada is starting to smell blood in the water, as he is on his rear Dunlop now. These guys absolutely flying out here out front. As you can see, only about a half a second difference between these guys. It does look like Prada is going to have it on cuts here. And actually, Polar must have had a mistake there. He is the only one left that does not have any cuts. These guys side by side coming across the finish line there with about 5.5 minutes left. Prada still riding real strong. MXB Aiden not letting him go here. Gonna get a little rubbing is racing here through some of these chicane turns. Prada makes a little mistake, gonna open up the inside for MXB Aiden. As they both stretch out that table. Oh, what happened? MXB Aiden, what just happened there? I don't know if a controller disconnected or what. He just came to a stop. Don't know if he clicked neutral there. He may be having a bike malfunction or something. That allows Prada to start to space away from him. Polar still not letting off. Only about 5.5 seconds behind Prada. Taking like Cedric calling K James a shooter. Unfortunately, K James just retired as after he got around Eggman. Not quite sure what happened there. Looks like we had another mistake from Polar. Prada and MXB Aiden still only a few bike lengths off each other. Like I said, there is a couple cuts involved. So that gap is actually more about 3 seconds, but MXB Aiden going to get a little squirrely up and over that Bishop step up. Mordove saying that MXB Aiden is the best. We'll have to see, as he currently sits in second, but 6.5 seconds off of our leader Prada. And that he is too locked in just in ignoring his mechanics. But we're not seeing Polar give up here. Polar still on a strong charge. Looks like that last lap, MXB Aiden, one of the slowest riders on the track, actually, a 151. So almost 10 seconds slower than the average pace here. These riders starting to space out just a little bit. Eggman looking over his shoulder, seeing where the leaders are coming through. There we see Prada and MXB Aiden, and just at the top of the screen, we now see Polar coming into frame. Probably one of our closest TPR races we've had of the year. Only about 10 seconds separating the top 3 riders. On a very technical track, one little mistake can mean a matter of 5 to 10 seconds, so anything can really happen here. As Prada now getting around Eggman, putting Eggman a lap down here. Saying he left a few bolts loose on accident. It almost looked like, I don't know how he just saved that. But we are starting to see Polar charging hard. Was one of the fastest riders that last lap, almost 2 seconds faster than our front 2 guys. MXB Aiden with another mistake. Polar now getting around him there. MXB Aiden with a few mistakes coming through this roller section. Like I said, this track can jump out and bite you at any second. MXB Aiden still going to that outside. I like that line. It's very consistent. Trying to get around Eggman, the lapped rider there. As Prada starting to expand his lead now, about 7.5 seconds now on the rest of this field. Aiden has been sabotaged. Yeah, 5 spokes. I mean, really, it's a circle. What, you need about 4 just to keep the thing balanced? I mean, riding like those old school like BMX bikes with the 5 spokes. Oh, MXB Aiden retired. Looks like leaving five spokes out. Unfortunately, came back to bite him. Blew that rear wheel out. Pushing that bike back to the pits. Probably not going to be too happy with his mechanic there, Mordoves. But it does look like Prada still running strong out front. About only 4.5 seconds now. Polar has started to reel this gap in. Only about 3 laps left here in this race. But a 2-second penalty for Prada and 1 second for Polar. Could get really interesting as we get down into these last few laps. Aiden is now squaring up with Mordoves in the pits. Little bit of J-Law action going on in the pits. Prada coming across that finish line once again. Has about 2 laps to go. Prada looks like he is starting to pick up the pace just a little bit. Ran a 1:43.9, but he's going to make a little bit of a mistake. Going to cost him about a second or so. Forgot to reinstall the clutch and the gear shifter. Just riding around in second gear the whole race. Forgot to put the right side brake pad into the caliper. Polar only 3.5 seconds now off of Prada. Actually, MXB Aiden was just out there running. Only 2.5 seconds here. Polar starting to put a charge in as we are coming into the final lap. Prada getting a little nervous. Could we see a last lap battle here between Polar on that TPR Dirt Lab ES Husqvarna and Prada? Like I said, a couple different line choices that we see out of these guys. Prada still having issues with this left-hander. Does look like Polar putting down the fastest lap time of the moto that last lap, a 1:41.89. I believe that was the fastest lap that we have seen so far throughout the entire day. We are seeing the man Jinja. They're getting a little off topic of our battle for the lead here. Always love to give the support to the homies hanging out in the chat with us. Prada still riding real strong on this final lap. Like I said, both riders now having 2 seconds of cuts, so this is an even playing field between the two. Polar is going to have to make a pass on the track for this to stick. Still about a 3-second gap between Prada, our leader, and Polar in second. Prada coming around that Prestige Genuine turn one more time here in Moto number 1. Jinja just letting these guys go by. Prada up and over the table into the second one and coming across the line. Prada taking the TPR MX1 Moto number 1 win. Polar taking that number 2 spot, only about 3.5 seconds off of the leader there. Jinja, strong ride, actually making his way back up into the 3rd position, but it is going to be the man Prada taking that number 1 spot. Still taking a look back, we still have a few riders on track. Pesa and Eggman, looks like they are starting to battle it out here. This is for the number 4 spot. These guys side by side. Does look like Pesa has quite a few more cuts than him. Ooh, and Eggman makes a mistake. This is going to allow Pesa to get away from him here. Like I said, Pesa trying to ride strong. Like I said, about a 3-second difference in cuts. Pesa coming across over the first table, over the second, absolutely throwing it backwards. Goes down hard. Polar just sitting in the middle of the track as he is watching his teammates come through. And Eggman on cuts is going to take fourth in Moto number 1, Pesa in 5th, MXB Aiden in 6th, and K James in 7th. Unfortunately, MXB Aiden having some bike issues. Going to retire out of Moto number 1, and K James going to be following suit. Jinja saying, I didn't want to do another lap. Yeah, I don't blame you there. Absolutely. These guys were absolutely flying out there for Moto number 1. Like I said, these guys like to run a tight ship though, so be ready. Get ready to jump right into Moto number 2. He only gives it usually about a minute or so, and we get right back into racing. Oh, Pace is saying a lap didn't count. Jinja saying he was going to get top 3, eh? Yeah, you did call that out. Definitely had some help from the Moto gods, but like I always say, you got to be in it to win it, whether that's a disconnected controller or internet goes out or anything of that nature. Basic calling out his teammate Eggman, saying he punted him off before the finish line. Unfortunately, we did not get that on the TV cameras, but whoever put the pits over here forgot to mow. Jinja, we saw a few of the I think we saw a Superman in there and things of that nature. But here we go. As horns going off as we're getting ready for Moto number 2. We started this event with 8 people down to 5. We're taking a look. Pesa once again on that very inside. Polar just to the right of him. There is Jinja on that 252 smoker. Eggman and Prada all close together down there. As revs are up, as we are getting ready for the TPR OCE MX1 Moto number 2. And the gate is down. Who is going to grab the whole shot here in Moto 2? Ooh, and we got a little bit of carnage. Pesa getting taken out. Few riders going flying. And it is going to be Prada who's going to get through turn 1 and 2 clean. Our Moto number 1 winner. Pesa, Polar, and Jinja all side by side as they are coming across the finish line here for the first lap. Polar and Pesa teammates. It's where you start thinking, oh, and Prada makes a mistake, clips Pesa coming off the face of that. And that's going to move Polar into first and Jinja now into the number 2 spot. Prada not going to be too happy about that and trying to charge Pesa, of course, after getting taken out there, is not going to be too happy. Jinja making a few little mistakes. Prada actually going to get around him, and it does look like Pesa might be getting ready to make the move as well. These guys heading through that treacherous whoop section and then up and over that table as we come into the sharp S turn. Both riders choosing to go to the inside here still. Does look like all the riders still think that is the fastest line through here. Are we going to see another repeat of moto number 1 as Prada's going to tuck the front and go down? Jinja going to be trying to make that pass for the number 2 spot. As these guys are side by side, Jinja does get the pass made. Pesa having to change up his line just a little bit. Looking to put Prada into 4th. This would be a mix-up in the overall. Polar still charging very strong out there in that number 1 spot. Puts about 4 seconds now up and over the rest of the field as Jinja, Prada, and Pesa all side by side. That is 2, 3, and 4. Pesa checking up just a little bit, trying to be a nice clean rider there. All 3 riders absolutely flying out here. Like we said before, Jinja on that 252 stroke. Prada and Pesa both riding the KTM 450s. When both riders cross each other, Jinja throwing the middle finger out there. It was Pesa almost crosses into Jinja as well. Polar now about 4.5 seconds up on this crew. Looks like that 252 stroke doesn't have the torque to get through those rollers clean. As we see Prada now starting to shark in and close in that gap just a little bit. Jinja still keeping his hands busy with the man Pesa. As we see that line being used around the outside. Does look like it is slightly faster. Jinja not being able to hit that inside line, but Pesa going down. Gonna allow Jinja back into that number 3 spot. When Prada makes a mistake and goes down, so does Jinja. Pesa still trying to use that inside, trying to get it to work. Looks like he is going to be able to drive around the outside of Jinja there. That is moving him into the number 3 spot. Jinja driving it up the inside of Pesa there. We jump back out front here. Polar about 5 seconds now up over Prada, who took first in moto number 1. Makes you start to wonder if E-Road is starting to cause some of these lines to get just a little squirrely. We see Polar still using the very edge of that track, trying to stay low over that Rev Graphics tabletop. There is Prada. Yeah, you can tell the height difference there just by taking different lines. Pesa still in that number 3 spot. And there is Jinja in 4th. Eggman now 45 seconds off the pace of these guys. Oh, and it does look like we have a shakeup here. Polar must have gone down. Prada now into the number 1 spot. Must have just happened. Timing and scoring still hasn't even updated. So as we sit, this is moto number 1's results here. Polar being in that number 1 spot, or Prada being in that number 1 spot, Polar being in 2nd. We know Polar wanted to make a charge and go 2-1 and take the overall on the night. We'll see if he is able to make the charge up here. Polar coming back down that start straight, absolutely flying on that 252 stroke. Does look like the fastest lap so far has been put down by Polar with a 145 flat. These guys still a lot of speed in the tank and can definitely go faster than what we are seeing so far. These guys absolutely flying as timing and scoring comes through. Prada is going to put down the new fastest lap time with a 143.4. But Polar not letting him go too far as he is riding the edge of the track there. Looking for that smooth ground. Ooh, Prada with a little mistake. Polar's going to go flying in front of him. They're going to be side by side up and over that table. Prada's actually going to get the better of it and get back into the lead. Prada going around the outside, seeing if he can make something work there. There we can see that KTM 450 just has the torque to get through those rollers faster. Eggman, unfortunately, not having a great night, going to be retiring out as well. Is going to leave us with just 4 riders here tonight. I said Prada still riding very strong in that number 1 spot. Polar still trying to keep him in sight in second. Pesa now sitting in third, only 3 seconds up over Jinja on the other 252 stroke in the class. Can Jinja mount a charge and put himself back into that third position? I believe as it sits now, Prada would take the overall going 1-1. Polar would be in second going 2-2. And Jinja would take third overall going 3-4 as Pesa went 5-3. It would go 5-3. We'll have to see if anything changes up. Still plenty of time in this moto. About 12 minutes left here in moto number 2. As we come through that Prestige Genuine right-hander. Just taking a look over at timing and scoring now. Prada does have 1 second of cuts. Very interesting. Prada still choosing to go to that inside. Polar going wide there. Polar still trying to figure out his way through those rollers. As you can see in timing and scoring, only about 0.3 seconds, so less than half a second separating these two. They are in the same turn now. Polar makes a little mistake, somehow saves it there. They're getting ready to come back up the start straight. I said these guys absolutely flying. Only a 0.6 separating these two right now. Polar trying to keep it close enough and not let Prada get too far away. Try and keep the pressure on him and hope for a mistake. When Polar blows off the side of the track, that is going to give some breathing room for Prada, as Polar had just reeled it in enough with that cut, was going to grab the number 1 spot. But after that mistake now, Prada going to be able to pull that back out just a little bit. Polar making another crucial mistake. At this rate, he is going to have to be worried about Pesa coming up here strong. Another mistake from Polar, and as he goes flying off the side of the track, bike is still cartwheeling. Where is his teammate Pesa? There he is. And Jinja still riding real strong with cuts, only 2 seconds off of Pesa. Polar with another mistake. I don't know if it's gotten into his head after Prada putting that much time. And Prada just sitting here. Prada wanted a race. Prada was tired of just breaking out, getting almost a 15-second lead, decides to wait for everyone, make this race interesting. As Pesa is actually now going to be on track, our race leader. Polar going to be getting around him, getting into that number 1 spot. And here comes Prada, after letting everybody go by, has now gotten around Jinja. Going to be setting his sights to make the moves to catch up to the front. And now Polar's waiting. These guys wanting a battle. With 8.5 minutes left in this race, this is going to get interesting, as both these guys now side by side in second and third. Like I said, this has allowed Pesa into the number 1 spot. This could shake up the overalls as well. Pesa now sitting 5-1. Jinja has these guys in his sights now as well. Honestly, this shows, to me, this is great sportsmanship. This means that these guys want to race. They don't want to just run away with the overall win. We know Prada not necessarily in the points chase, so he wanted some great racing, and that's why he was able to pull over, as he is going to make a mistake in front of Polar. Polar just dodges him there. And now Pesa waiting. There goes Polar. Prada and Jinja. Oh, and Jinja goes down hard. Pesa still waiting. Polar waiting. All these guys resetting the race here, as we still have about 7.5 minutes left in the moto. These guys decided to reset the moto here. There is some cuts involved. About 3 seconds for Pesa, 1 second for Prada, and 3 for Polar. So Jinja right now, the only one sitting without any cuts. That could come into play as we get down towards the end of this race. Oh, and it does look like Polar's going to make a mistake. Goes down hard there. All three guys battling side by side, coming down into that Blazed MX right-hander. We come up through the table finish line section. Polar getting a little squirrely, jumping off the side of the track. That is definitely going to be even more cuts for the man Polar. He's going to have to be mindful of that as we get into this later side of the moto, as he now only has, or he has 4 seconds of cuts, being the highest of the group. Jinja going to be showing out front now. Like I said, he is the only one that does not have any cuts. Prada going to tuck the front, go down. He's going to collect Polar with him. Jinja trying to run away with this. Jinja now could be going 3-1. These guys duking it out now. About 6 minutes left. As you can see in timing and scoring, Prada is going to get tangled up with Polar, and he is going to go down hard. Polar and Pesa. Polar still checks up waiting for him as Prada's bike is just rolling around there. These other two guys starting to check out here. We'll have to see with 5.5 minutes left. Can Polar and Prada, or can Prada and Polar make a charge up and catch these two? We'll see as timing and scoring comes through where they are at in terms of how far behind they are. As we are keeping an eye still on this gap, waiting for them to come across. Timing and scoring, it looks like Prada is going to be about 19 seconds back and Polar 23. Like I said, Jinja currently sitting. He is going to have a 3-1. Polar would go 1-4 and... Or Polar would go 2-4 and Prada would go 1-3. I believe as it sits right now, Jinja would actually take the overall. We'll see if these guys are able to click off laps, see if they can reel these guys back in. I have a feeling that Jinja is not going to just wait up for the rest of the crew, as Pesa is still making the push to try and catch up to Jinja here. I believe if Pesa were to get this, Pesa would go 5-1. When Jinja makes a mistake, Pesa is going to get around him. As we have about 3.5 seconds left, we are starting to see Prada and Polar in the background there now. Oh, and Pesa makes a mistake. That's going to allow Jinja to get back by him. Some of the E-Road in these corners starting to wreak a little havoc on these guys. and Pesa and Jinja get tangled up just a little bit. Somehow Pesa able to save that. Now coming down that start straight, we see Prada and Polar. These guys mounting a charge. Like we had said just on a few laps ago, Prada was almost 19 seconds back. As we are seeing now, it is only an 8-second gap. Jinja and Pesa still battling it out there in that number 1 and 2 spot. Pesa does have about 4 seconds of cuts, so he needs to get around Jinja and check out from him to take this first place spot away from Jinja. But we are now seeing Prada only 6.5 seconds off these guys. Polar about 12. Polar does have 4 seconds of cuts as well here. Pesa does get around Jinja for the time being. Like I said, he needs to get at least 4 seconds on Jinja to be in that overall spot. Only about 2 minutes left here in Moto number 2. All riders in the same straightaway. As we are starting to see Prada only 3.5 seconds now off of the rest of these guys. Prada has 1 second of cuts. Oh, and Jinja goes down hard. That is going to allow Prada and Pesa to get around him, and there goes Polar. The two 252 strokes now sitting 3rd and 4th. As Prada still charging hard, trying to catch Pesa on track. Pesa struggling to get through that turn. Prada is now going to grab the number 1 spot. Only about a minute left. We are going to have about 3 laps left. I don't think he is going to get to the finish line before time expires. Polar still charging real strong here as we see him trying to make up the difference. Like I said, him and Pesa have the same amount of cuts, so he does have to pass Pesa on track. As we see them getting ready to come back into that roller section, Prada has these figured out, getting over them double, double, double. Polar struggling with them still as he has all night long. Polar wheeling through that section. Pesa gonna make a mistake, and Polar is now gonna get past him. Polar needs to set his sights, and he tucks the front coming into the turn. That is now going to allow Jinja to get up on his rear tire. Oh, and Jinja makes a mistake. Dabs his foot in the turn. Stands him upright. Pesa riding a wheelie down the start straight. As we are starting to see Prada check out now. Has about a 9.5 second lead over Pesa in that number 2 spot. Prada definitely showing his speed and talent now here. Like I said, wanted to show that he wanted to have a race in battles. But as time starts to expire, he picks up his pace, puts down a 1:43, and just absolutely leaves these guys in the dust. When he makes a mistake, somehow saves that. Prada is still struggling with that turn as well. It's interesting that some of these riders have had a few spots of this track that have been harder than others. The Pesa Polar coming through there just clean. Prada getting through those rollers clean. We're going to see if Polar is able to do the same here. Still just kind of bashing into each one. I don't know if that is a 252 stroke or... It looks like Jinja's going to be doing the same thing there. Pesa and Polar teammates here battling it out here for the number 2 spot. Polar did end up collecting another second of cuts somewhere, as we are seeing Prada a few more turns till he grabs that white flag here in moto number 2. Prada really buckled in, putting down some absolutely flying laps as he grabs that white flag and then tucks the front. Polar has now moved himself into that number 2 spot. Pesa sitting in 3rd. Ooh, Prada way off the side of the track there. Oh, and Polar follows his line exactly. Goes around the table. That is definitely going to be another second of cuts there. Pesa picking up on Polar's line, going around on that very edge of the track, keeping in the smooth lines. Only about 5.5 to 6 second difference between Polar and Prada now. Like I said, cuts definitely coming into factor here as we get into the last lap battle. Prada still riding very strong. Polar trying to make that charge. Like I said, Prada does have the fastest lap time of the night with a 1:41. Prada, Polar, and Pesa still all side by side. And it does look like Prada coming into the last turn, last 2 tabletops. Prada going 1-1 is going to be taking our overall here in the TPR OCE MX1 class. Polar coming across the line in second, so both first place and second going 1-1 and 2-2, riding very consistent. And it does look like Pesa going to be in that number 3 spot, and then Jinja coming across the line in 4th. These guys absolutely flying out here. Like I said, big shout out to Polar and Jinja for jumping on those 2 strokes. Always love to see some different variations in the bikes community. Unfortunately, Eggman, the only Suzuki rider in here, did jump off as well. All right, if you guys are listening to, just kidding, as soon as we get results up here, we will get the podium. I believe as it stands right now, Polar saying that 252 stroke does not bark. Hey man, that first moto, you were the fastest lap time of the entire night, so it's hard to say that it doesn't. I believe our overall standings is going to be Prada in the number 1 spot, Polar in number 2, and I do believe Jinja is going to be grabbing that 3rd place overall. We will see once the results get posted. Like I said, if you guys aren't part of the Discord, make sure you guys jump in. Get a quick podium speech for you. That I know we don't have a ton of people watching, but would love to have you guys hanging out. Love to get a few words, shout out the sponsors. I already see Jinja in here hanging out, just waiting to get brought into the booth here. I say, give me just a few minutes here, see if we can get the actual overalls in, and then we'll start dragging you guys down. kick it on back to the sports booth here as we, like I said, as we get ready to do our podium speeches. Like I said, I believe, Jinja, I think you do. I think there was some battling going on between Pesa and Eggman in that first moto, and I believe Eggman edged him out for the number 4 spot, so that would make him go 5-3, and you would have gone 3-4. Still waiting on those overall results here. But so instead of keeping you waiting, let's go ahead and bring on Jinja. Like I said, I believe he's got the 3rd place overall. So let's go ahead and drag him on in. Jinja, what is going on, brother? Been hanging out in the chat for a while now.
Yeah.
It's good to have you here in the booth. Congratulations. Like I said, I think you got 3rd place overall on the night. Take us through kind of how your motos went.
Well, first thing I gotta say, that 2-stroke sucks. Okay. No matter how good your setup is, that bike is a challenge for any man. First moto, amazing start. Wasn't really race ready on that 2-stroke, so I was making a lot of bobbles and mistakes, couple crashes. Ended up dropping down to 4th. Then Aiden disconnected. Poor guy. Wish he would have been able to race that. That would have been awesome. But yeah, ended up getting 3rd that moto because someone's lap didn't count. I don't remember which one. Second
Yeah.
moto, massacre on the start. Like I went flying. I'm like, please get up fast. They were all waiting up for each other. I haven't raced in a minute, so I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm going. And was leading for 5-7 laps, and then all of a sudden I went for the corner. My front end just exploded out of the rut. Loud. The other guy to get by, I think it's Polar that got by me, or one of the P's. But
I'll say
yeah,
there was
had a
3 of
good
them,
race.
so
Yeah, good race. Haven't raced in a minute, so I was happy with that.
Yeah, no, man. Like I said, we've seen you hanging out in the chat. Love to have you actually making it up onto the podium. Yeah, those guys were. I was talking. Prada ended up getting about 15-second lead on the rest of the group, and he ended up waiting up for everyone. So did so did Polar. So it was cool to kind of see some battling and not just people running away with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, outside of that, man, anybody you'd like to thank for tonight's 3rd place overall?
Oh yeah. My boys at TTG for hooking me up with the amazing kit and bike. And my homeboys over at GSF for always supporting me and having fun training together.
Awesome, man. Well, like I said, I always love having you in the chat. Always great to have people hanging out with us and seeing kind of familiar faces. Additionally to that, love having you up on the podium. Hopefully we'll see you kind of continuing running this race here and just trying to get this series bigger and bigger each week. But outside of that, man, congratulations on that 3rd, and hopefully we'll see you back next week.
Yeah, we'll see me back on an actual bike this time.
I was gonna say, you moving back to the 4 strokes?
Yeah, that 2-stroke that hurt. My fingers hurt. Would have finessed that thing.
Awesome, man. Well, like I said, definitely a big congratulations on that 3rd, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
Peace out, man.
Peace.
Awesome. Like I said, looking for Polar. Polar, if you are kicking around, I put my Discord link in the chat. You want to just join into the podium, and I can drag you on down. Same thing goes if anybody knows Prada and wants to shout out anybody, make sure he's jumping in. Polar said he's gonna jump in once he gets the series. That sounds good to me, man. Yeah, we'll get your the number one plate championship speech. Although that's if Moto doesn't come back and try and sweep it away from you. Now I believe you're gonna be sitting, man, almost 60 plus points over Moto. But as we know, he is an absolute barker and can definitely come back and finish out these rounds strong. Only thing he has to say is 252 stroke does not bark. Well, hey, it's always cool, like I said, to see new bikes and just some different faces and things in the series. Like I said, everybody's getting tired of just seeing the same meta bikes over and over again. So I definitely say it's cool to see it. Like I said, maybe I'll work with Toasty and do a full 252 stroke race, or just one round that'll only be 2 strokes. That way it's definitely on more of a fair playing field. Outside of that, like I said, if anybody knows Prada, have him join in. I don't think I see him here. No. Well, so you got to put it this way, though. So you raced against 4 strokes. So if everybody's on a 252 stroke, it definitely makes it a lot better. I was trying to see if any of the other rounds would be a good one for it, but this track, too, is also a pretty tight technical track. So the 252 stroke, probably not the best choice. Yeah, hey, I mean, obviously setup-wise, I mean, that can always kind of dictate on kind of how the bike's going to handle. I was never a full believer in it until I started getting some actually legitimate setups, and man, does it make a total difference there. I mean, it changes everything up. I believe if you want to, Splash over at the SPX Performance, he works with pretty much any bike. If you guys are looking for any suspension needs, I know he does a lot of great stuff. Works with the guys at AEO as well. Same thing with the Norms Code team. So make sure if you guys are looking for any setups, check him out. Outside of that, man, I think that's all we have for tonight. You guys, like I said, if you guys aren't following, make sure you guys hit that follow button, get the notifications when we're going live. Outside of that, that's really all I got for the night. Congratulations to the top 3. Like I said, Puller on the number 2 spot, Jinja in the 3rd, and Prada going 1-1, taking the overall on the night. Big shout out to you guys hanging out in the chat with us. I know you guys over in Australia, it is wicked late for y'all. So thanks for hanging out and racing with us. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. If you guys are looking to watch more racing, we got MXL AM class tomorrow night. Outside of that, we will catch you guys later. Peace.
I found some better sounds no one's ever heard. I wish I had a better voice that sang some better words. I wish I found some chords in an order that is new. I wish I didn't have to rhyme every time I sang. I was told when I get older all my fears would shrink, but now I'm insecure and I care what people think. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. will take me back to when I was young. How come I'm never able